been 19 years. It was actually on the 29th of May 1999 when General Abdul Salam, had to hand over to Olusegun Obasanjo as the first, elected president, as it were then. And of course, throughout all that period, it's been one, complaint or the other, and also one praise or the other in the country. Well, looking at some of the issues that have been talked about over the years, we're so privileged to have Mr. Ehime or Herod. Yeah. So you're welcome to this program this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Yeah, and also we are privileged to have Neville Obakedo. So you're welcome to this program this morning on ITV.
Good morning, viewers, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, we're going to see some of the issues that Mr. President talked about yesterday while he made his broadcast. But let's start from 19 years ago. Yeah. Over the years, every time we observe Democracy Day, there has always been this argument that it ought not to be May 29th, it ought to be June 12th, going by what happened by, Abiola's election and all that. Mr. Himekbe, can we really say that we should be celebrating a democracy every 29th day of May?
Well, I think that is the problems of Nigerians now. So what happened, June 12 was a movement, and June 12 that gave birth to May 29th. Naturally, every Nigerian who participated in the instrument of democracy again wants June 12. But if you look at the way the May 29 came all about, it was that was the day to demand to Abu Salami and his junta decided to let us hand over power. So whichever that happens, I think those are mere cosmetics. Nigerians want to know their problem, how it could be solved. Not necessarily, because whether you celebrate May 29 or June 12, people that still believe in June 12 celebrate their June 12. Yeah, you know that issue of June 12 scares so many people. Those people that we call the enemies of democracy. People that didn't want Nigeria well, didn't wish Nigeria well. If June 12 was a movement, and if you are putting the June 12 again, happy June 12 is a reminder of the injustice done to Abiola, injustice done to Nigeria, and that remains today, whether you like it or not, remains the freest, the fairest election ever had in Black Africa. So because of that, people that have worked against it, who stood, few of them that are still alive, don't want to hear that June 12 thing. It scares them. You cannot blame them because in their belief, they never expected the thing to happen the way it happened. But you cannot do anything about it. It's history. It has remained with us. It could not remain with us all our lives. So June 12 is a sick one. And we all believe in June 12. May 29 just mere cosmetic thing. Or say the day he handed over. June 12 ought to have been. But because to the man, Abdul Salam was under pressure, should I not be overthrown? Should I be overthrown? Should I do the, let me quickly hand over power and leave? So we were looking for the nearest convenient date for him. I think that's what he did. Otherwise, June 12 is sacrosanct. Okay.
Now, Neville Obakedo, it's been 19 years of democratic rule. Can we really say we've really enjoyed democracy, for this past 19 years?
At different fora, I've had the opportunity of talking to people and talking to the public, as we are doing now. And my argument is that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is not practicing democracy. What we are practicing in Nigeria is what we call civilian rule, as distinct from democracy. Why did I say so? Democracy is a concept, and we have seen it in practice. Anywhere democracy, the liberal kind of democracy that we say we are practicing, anywhere we see it, there are characteristics, there are features, there are fundamentals that are pronounced that will make you to come to the conclusion that what is operational in that political system is democratic governance.
What are those characteristics?
Now, when we say democracy, we are saying that the people, first and foremost, party members, they are given opportunity to determine who leads their political party. Their political party at what level, their political party at a local government level, their political party at state level, their political party at national level. And in turn, they determine the process who should be the candidate of their party through popular participation. Where that is missing, and the concept of consensus that is supposed to come when issues of decision making, political house trading are at play, the word consensus and consolidation, consultation, they're supposed to come together. Then the consensus that is supposed to come to the arena of politicking and decision making, you now bring it to the arena of choice, where you deny members of your political party of the freedom to determine who should lead their party.
Yeah, but at times we find that these political parties, that their constitution, allows for this.
That is what I'm saying. That is where I'm coming to, and that was why I used the word just now. Importation of consensus for the arena of decision making and political arguments between and among interest group. You bring it to the party, and you now put in place a constitution that hamstrung the people. You deny them their constitutional right to political participation, even within the party. At the end of the day, you now bring up a candidate from that skewed process, fraudulent process in court. You bring out a candidate from there. A candidate that may not be popular but acceptable to the elite within that party. You now come and compete with the candidate of another party. So on election day, Nigerians are happy that what they are experiencing is democracy. That is not democracy. It is just mere civilian rule. A conspiratorial arrangement of those who have the wherewithal to be able to determine who gets what, when, and how. And that kind of strategic elite arrangement is not democracy within the context of liberal democracy that we see elsewhere in the world. So Nigeria is not practicing democracy. Nigeria is practicing civilian rule. If Nigeria want to practice democracy, first and foremost, there must be a law, an act of parliament that legislate this issue of attaining. Let me use that our in local parlance. We have already said it. The leaders have said it. This is the person that will go. That is not democracy, unless that is legislated out of their constitution and out of the various rules and regulations that govern political parties. Nigeria will never experience democracy. And if we do not experience democracy, we cannot see good governance. So for the past 90 years, Nigeria has experienced uninterrupted civilian rule in contradistinction to what is democracy. Because where you have democracy, you must have the freedom of choice. It's sacrosanct. And that freedom of choice is enshrined in the constitution. And so if there's any political party that now have a system, a procedure for bringing up leaders within rank and file, or bringing up candidates to compete with other political parties in a general election, that is not democracy.
Okay,
that is one.
Okay,
number two.
Let me pause you.
Okay.
We'll have time to come to you later. Now, Mr. Himekbe,
Yeah.
I don't know whether you concur with what he just said, or you have, another opinion.
I think it's a mere nomenclature. Because when you talk about democracy, you call it Nigeria type of democracy. There's no stereotype. We didn't take any screw from God and say this is how democracy should look like. So people get the kind of government they deserve. So when people sat there in Nigeria, whether you call it selectocracy, whether you call it this or that, it is our style of democracy. That is not even the issue. The issue is that, like he has said, many people are being disfranchised, and that is they no longer have that benefit of democracy of the franchise. People are being disfranchised in the course of selecting those that will rule them. They get, for instance, where will you start from? Is it at the national? Is it at the state? Is it at the local government? It's all the same economy. So you find out that people are not actually in the position to select who rules them. But what about the institution that got up to approve the constitution of the various parties? I don't think when we say that issue of attaining, quote and unquote, or the issue of the leaders have said it, it's a lazy attitude. It's a lazy acceptance of a faith system. It's a faith system. What do you mean by you have said it? Who said it? There is even no, in all the political party constitution, there is no way you say you elect a leader. There's no way you say a leader is this, is elected. No leader is elected. It's just a man, what you call yourself. Anybody can call himself leader. That's why the name, the word has been so abused that anybody, oh, my leader, my leader. And I also quickly want to tell you that it is opportunism. People take opportunities. If you have the kind of money you should have, you are able to settle some other needs of your followers, you become a leader automatically. So the issue is that we're actually not enjoying what we are expected to enjoy in the democratic system. It did not start now. I think it become much more, the drum beat is harder now. That, for instance, you saw a few elections that were done a few months ago. It was not an election. You see that you said, who said what? Where did you sit down to say it? Somebody will sit there in his bedroom and you write the name, I don't want you, I want you, I don't want you, I want you. And it carries out. So because there is no check, I think our error is not even the selection. The error, the mistake, or rather our pain is that there should also be a legislation to check political parties that are not adhering to the tenets of democracy.
Okay. Now, Neville Obakedo, just as we continue to look at some of those features that you say that before a country can be described as a democratic country, there must be some features. Now, let's look at one other thing that seems to have always been playing out. You discover that almost every time when we celebrate Democracy Day, successive governments always take the time to go through their achievements. Some people have argued in some other climes that the best thing to do at this such a day is to remind us of those features, those democratic values that we are not seeing even in our civilian rule, going by what you're saying now. So if we continue in this manner, where will it lead us to?
Well, let me, before I go into that aspect, let me quickly say that what Okaridia said is a verbatim reportage of what I said, just in another way. When we are talking about democratic rule, liberal democracy, there must be opposition within the party. There must be opposition within the party. That is, a party in existence must have what we call the right wing and the left wing. As hard and difficult, as conservative as the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China. They have the right wing and the left wing. I remember after the transition of Chairman Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping emerged as the leader of the Communist Party. There were two factions. A faction that wanted the status quo ante bellum of the Communist Party to remain. There was another faction led by Zhao Ziyang and Li Peng, who later became Prime Minister or Premier of China at different times. They wanted some forms of liberalism within the party. It was as a result of their leftist position that led to the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, where the People's Army of China brought out armored tanks and faced students who were protesting and were calling for liberal democracy.
Okay, so are we saying that we're not having that in Nigeria? So
in Nigeria, yeah, we don't have opposition within a party.
Yeah, but recently we've always seen whereby, take for example the last World Congress that was conducted in the APC.
Yes.
After the Congress, we saw reactions and all that. Now, when we begin to have this scenario playing out, can we then now say that we have opposition within our political parties?
We don't have opposition within the party. When I say opposition, I deliberately decided to use the example of China or the Communist Party, because that is the most brutal party in power in human history. If you go to Russia, the defunct Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, defunct USSR, go and study the history of USSR from the period of Lenin in 1917, when he became the leader of that republic. From there to the period of Brezhnev, Khrushchev, Yuri Andropov, Konstantin Chernenko, up to the period of Mikhail Gorbachev, you will see that opposition political parties were not allowed to be in existence. But within the party, there were dissect opinions, which were also geared at sustaining the Russian state. But those who were seen as enemies of the Russian state were brutally massacred, killed. Now, in our own context, when we say we have democracy, we are not running a communist kind of government. We expect that within a party, some member can say, this is the way we should achieve our manifesto, or this is the way we should achieve or promote our ideology, so that we can capture power. When we are in power, we'll be able to rule like this, like this. And in Nigeria, when you oppose the power that be within your party, you are the following morning, a press conference will be organized, and they will say these persons are expelled from the party for anti-party activities. Nobody want to listen to you. And if you say there's a democracy where people are not allowed to express their own opposite opinion about an issue within the party and within and between among other political parties, democracy is on holidays. What is there is just civilian rule. And I said earlier, that's a conspiratorial arrangement that will never allow good governance to surface in that country.
Okay. Now, Ehimekwe, let me come to you. I asked the question earlier on that one thing we've noticed is each time we tend to celebrate our Democracy Day. We've always seen governments, successive governments, going through their achievements and all that. Some have said that it's better to concentrate on the democratic values that we seem not to be having in this country. I don't know how you look at that.
I don't know whether you are looking at the Syria. If you look at what is happening, they are campaigning. Campaign has started. You saw that what you saw this year, what you saw in democracy, the one we did this year, is what the campaign. The newspaper we are flushed with different type of campaigns. This is what I've done. They are already campaigning. Like we have always believed that it's 4 years tenure. It's only 3 years really. Actually, you will do what you want to do.
Governance.
The last 1 year, it's a campaign.
Yeah.
So they are campaigning. So you don't look at that. But yeah, before I go further, I want to quickly address an issue my friend was raising, that there are opposition within the party. That's why you see parallel congresses. That's why you see that they set up another panel, go and resolve them.
That's in Nigeria now.
Yes, in Nigeria. Okay. There are oppositions in the party, within the party. That's why even when you look at, some people say new PDP, they were in the party. And when you find out that when you get to the climax, you couldn't resolve it, you take your bow and leave. So if there's any party at all, if there's if there's any system at all that harbors opposition, it's Nigeria. We have everywhere you have opposition within the party. So, but what I am saying in essence is that I don't want you to. Nigerians are already aware of how they do, how the politicians behave, because now that you are facing an election, you just have to. Even sometimes they go and rake things that were done by their predecessors and put it within them so that they did it. We are aware of all these things. We are aware of all these gimmicks. But what we are saying is that these things does not solve any person's problem. It does no longer pass Nigerians. We know what they are doing, we know what they are used to, and we are paid with it. Actually, you cannot really say what they have. They ought to be talking about what they intend to do, area they have not touched, area they want to touch. But instead, I tell you what they have done because they are campaigning. The campaign has started. I think that is that's my impression on this. Going back to say, talking about what they have done, what they have not done, and what they intend to do, what they don't intend to do. They have. If you look yesterday's papers now, especially these national papers, most of them, all the pages were just adverts. And this advert, one is almost about 2 million front page. The other one that inside the pages is about 580 million, detail like that. But that can tar one road, or that can put that could be used for some other thing that will benefit the people. But instead, they are doing self-aggrandizement. So it's painful. Okay. It's a very sad.
Okay. All right, viewers out there, the program is still this morning on ITV, and we are looking at Nigeria as a nation, 19 years after democratic rule. 19 years of democratic rule, matters arising. Now, Neville Obahedo, let's look at the speech as made yesterday by the president, where he talked about measures that have been put together to extend better life to Nigerians in terms of socially, economically, and otherwise. How would you want to react to that? Because some people say that okay, it's okay, but for the fact that it's close to election and all that, you want to react to that too?
Well, the president have been making speeches, and again he has made another speech on Democracy Day, just like the one he made on New Year Day. The issue is that speech is more of a political speech than of a democratic speech. Why did I say so?
What is the difference between a political speech and democratic speech? Yeah.
A political speech is a speech that brings to the fore your political interest and the interest of the group or the political party that you represent. That is a speech that is coming from a president or a governor on a Democracy Day that is talking about achievements of the government and what the government intends to do. That kind of speech is a political speech. A democratic speech is a speech that lays bare the history of democratic transition of the country, the heroes and the heroines of democracy, and then what the government is doing to deepen and entrench democracy, and what the government is doing to sustain democracy beyond that government. That is a democratic speech. This kind of issues were missing in the president's speech, and that brings me to the question of who are persons who write speeches for people in the corridors of power. They are supposed to go and check and read speeches of leaders. Like if American president were to read a Democracy Day speech, what would be the ingredients of that speech? Then from there you learn. If the president of South Korea, for example, want to read a Democracy Day speech, what will be the content of that speech? If British Prime Minister want to read a Democracy Day speech, what will be the content of that speech? How have they widened democratic space? What has the government done in ensuring political governance within the context of democracy? What has the government done? That very particular government that came in the name of democracy. What has it done to ensure social governance?
Yeah,
what has it done to ensure spiritual governance or moral governance? These are the issues that should be embedded in a Democracy Day speech.
Yeah, just like what I said earlier on, that if you've been following a sequence of speeches in this country, most especially on every May 29th, it appears that most of the speeches just tend to take that same political speech the way you are saying it now. Now, where will this lead us to? Because some people are arguing that instead of giving us a political speech, why don't you give us a democratic speech?
Yes, it will not lead us anywhere, because the system that brings up these leaders is a system that is skewed in the interest of the governing elite. When I say governing elite,
not necessarily for the people.
Yes, governing elite. Governing elite now is not necessarily referring to those who are in position of governance now at executive level. Governing elite cut across this all spectra of our society. It includes traditional institutions. For example, I expected persons in the manufacturing sector, in the traditional sector, traditional institutional sector, in other aspects of like maybe civil society organizations, labor unions, as the case may be, they are supposed to critique, they are supposed to descend on the speech of the president and bring out the missing ingredients, the missing link in the speech, so that in the next Democracy Day speech, if the writers of the speeches of the president were watching and listening, they will now right the wrongs of the previous Democracy Day speech.
Yeah, but in Nigeria, can we ever have that kind of situation? Because you just said that most times the speeches that are given in Nigeria are in the interest of the governing elite.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was why I said earlier that it will be difficult for us to get it right.
Okay.
Because even when a man becomes a governor, the man becomes a president, or even if you become a senator, people will even recommend for you who should be your PA. Even when you know people that can give you the right advice, they will say, we are the people who help you to become a senator, we are the people who help you to become a House of Rep member. So you will take this my boy as your PA. Anywhere you are going, we will follow you. We will be paying him. That is outside of the money you are going to be remitting to those people who push you to that position. At that very point, those in the leadership position, that democratic leadership position, they are even facing what we call legitimacy crisis within their party. Because I was surprised just now when Khalid Agimepe was saying that there are opposition within the party. Then you will now set up a parallel congress. It's setting up a parallel congress when the legalized ESCO is organizing a congress elsewhere. That is a clear anti-party activity.
Okay, let me pause you. So
let me finish before you pause me. So when we are talking about Democracy Day, we are talking about consolidated democracy, or we are talking about 90 years of democratic rule, in quote, even though I don't agree with that word, democracy. There are certain things that we must see pronounced across the country and within and between political parties. Where this is missing, we are just setting agenda to repeat history.
Okay. Now, Ehimekbe, a while ago, Nabil Obahedo talked about, we're looking at the speech yesterday, that for him, he said that speech is rather of a political speech rather than democratic speech. Now, my question is, can we ever have a Nigerian leader making a democratic speech, going by the fact that our leaders, our presidents, they come from a political party, and on such a day, that's every May 29th, is also an opportunity day for them to probably sell the government in power, sell their government, sell their political party and all that. So can we ever have a president that will one day give us a democratic speech?
Yeah, I think in the first place, I'm here to decipher. I'm here to be able to decipher your definition of democratic speech and political speech. Because I don't know, it's not in my dictionary. I don't know the difference between political speech and democratic. It's part of all the effort he made to explain it. But well, let me tell you, like I said, sometimes we say people get the kind of government they deserve. And so many issues, so many things now surrounds our electing a particular leader. We will, if your question is straight, we will one day have, just like we are searching, we'll still be searching. Like today now, it's just about barely 20 months to another election. The candidates will appear, we will see them, we'll decide, but the problem is poverty. Poverty, our level of poverty. The system has so much impoverished everybody that today, even when you see a good person, you talk about what can he afford? What did he give you? That's why you see, I have a group that is preaching, because it has become very, very, very unpopular to tell people, don't take money, go and vote your conscience. Instead, put it the other way. Take their money and go and vote your conscience. Yes.
If you take their money, do you still have a conscience of your own?
No, yeah. Listen, because the money, you put it in your mind that they stole this money. If you come and you tell me, give me this, I will take 5,000, go on. I will collect your 5,000, I will go and vote whom I want to vote for. Because you don't have any, you cannot go and stop, you can't arrest me there. I will collect your money, go tell them so. So, two things, it will serve two motives. One, it will discourage the giver. And people have been, they have made up their mind, they will collect my money, they won't vote for me. Two, it will also encourage you to be bold enough to say, let me really go and vote whom I want to vote for. And vote out the person I don't want them. So what I'm saying in essence is that we will one day get Americans. If you see that now, they are talking about American presidents. It's not all you are going to count. You are still going to count in your fingertips. This, Kennedy was this one was this one was this. If you say you are wanting a leader that can make speeches, if that's your judgment, when can we have a leader? Is it the one that can make speeches, beautiful speeches you are saying, or the one that can really perform? So that's why you find out that every 4 years we come into a periodical election. The choice is before you. Like today now, you don't need to tell every Nigerian, go to the market and say, who will you vote for? In their conscience. They will tell, God forbid, I will not vote for this again. God forbid, I will vote for this one again. This one, I will vote for this. So they all know themselves. So it will come to a time, it's gradual, it's evolutionary. So people are beginning to know these people are like this, they will bring money. Today, the average electorate will tell you that election is coming again, they come and share money. There's no money anywhere now. When the election comes, money will come. So they also say, this is my Christmas. And I also want to tell you, put it in your record, that the election we are going at, with the kind of system, with the kind of pain Nigerians have suffered, we have got to a level that even if you come and tell somebody, take this 1 million naira, go and deliver your boot. The person will go carry the 1 million naira, put 90% of that amount into his pocket first, knowing that this man didn't talk to me all this while. You give me this 1 million naira, this is my share. So he will go there and go and spend the 10%. And whether it's succeed or not succeed, it doesn't bother him. So it's gradual, it's a gradual process. I think for your question, we will get there, we'll soon get there. Because Nigeria is becoming aware, we are becoming knowledgeable, we are becoming used to the system, we'll get there. Okay. But with time, patience and perseverance, and perhaps the continuation of our efforts to learn and learn again, we'll get to the promised land.
Okay. Now, Neville Obakedo, I can see you're always looking at your right up there. You are so packed full today. But can we still see one of that feature, one of that characteristics that a democratic government is supposed to have that seems to be lacking in our country?
Okay. The paper I have here, I'm just putting down points. When my co-discussant is raising issues.
Now, apart from that, those points, because I know you also need to react to what you said, but
I'm just telling you the paper I'm holding. It's not that
because
I don't have any prepared material that I'm giving you my points from.
Yeah, but I know you have some points, some features that we are lacking.
Yes,
you know,
let me answer you.
Okay.
First and foremost, on Democracy Day, leaders read speeches, they tell you about their achievements. That is wrong. You don't need to talk about the achievements on election day.
On Democracy Day. Yeah.
Because any government in power, whether military or civilian, there are certain things that they are elected, or the government is in place to perform certain functions, like tying up roads. You come after, you say, we have ties also road. We are now ensuring that there's a railway from Lagos to Abuja or to across our state. That is not democracy. That is just mere governance. It doesn't have anything to do with democracy. Democracy at work is setting agenda for the people and empowering the people to perform in the process that determine who become the leader and the decisions that they take while they are in power. In a democracy, government supposed, the president, for example, or the governor or the local government chairman, supposed to be having periodic town hall meetings with the people, so that from there he or she will be able to tell the people what the government is doing, what the government intends to do, and they will not be looking for input from the people to make the society better than the way they met it.
But we must, because of time, we must also appreciate that if you look down 19 years, I think one feature of democratic rule is the fact that there is freedom of speech. Don't you think we may have enjoyed
this? There is no freedom of speech. There is no freedom. Where is the freedom of speech? Let me before I answer the issue of the freedom of speech, one element of democracy in Nigeria is the use of PVC to vote. I hear INEC. They sit down in their offices, call journalists to the office to say, we have so thousands of PVC that have not been collected, and yet government vote money for running of INEC on a yearly basis. INEC will go to a particular primary school in a ward and register people there. Then when it is now time to distribute, they will not remember the school again, to go to that place and sensitize the people, the community leaders, traditional rulers.
No, you can't say INEC will not remember the school because
I'm saying it deliberately because I've done something. I've done the research on this issue.
That INEC forgot a particular center?
Not that they forgot. What I'm saying that they do not now go back again to say this was the area we conducted our registration. Oh yeah, you leader here, call your people to come and collect their PVC. They don't do it here, but I visited some states in the north. When registration is done and PVCs are ready, the community people will liaise with INEC to ensure, because in the north, in virtually every state in the north, we have women in the PUDA. They don't come outside. Even during the period of registration, INEC officials or ad hoc staff, they go into the PUDA, into the territory, the RM, to go and register them. And so when they want to distribute PVC, they also follow the same process to distribute PVC. That's why you are looking at analysis of collection of PVC. Those from the north, they collect more than those from here because the determination of those people to ensure that PVC get to their owners is not the same thing here. So that is that. You my code is constant. I don't want to be repeating your name. You
are repeating it to make it sympathize to you.
Just quickly as we wrap up.
So that people should collect money of a politician and vote against them. I've been monitoring election for more than 19 years now. I don't monitor alone. I monitor with fellow civil society people, and I discovered that the politicians, they have perfect plans on how to bribe people on election day to vote for their candidate. They will put an agent by the box where you are going to vote. They will monitor you. The person that will give you the money is waiting. Their agent will signal them. That person voted for our party just now. Give him his 5,000 or 2,000 or 1,000 depending on the amount. So it is not like you will collect the money and not vote, and you just eat the money and go scot-free. The security from the places I've monitored so far, you cannot collect the money and not vote for the party that gave you the money, unless the party will not follow you, will not monitor you to ensure that you voted for their party.
Is the security aware of this?
Well, the security are aware. The security is, when you are saying security, you are talking of a policeman. They are aware and they are part of the process because a policeman that are assigned to
it is just an allegation now.
It's not an allegation. On election, they go out and say now. It's not an allegation. Election will still come in 2019. Take pain as a journalist to go and monitor voting and the role the politicians and the community leaders, including security agents and INEC commissioner, play. Just watch out. Be intelligent. You are, as a journalist.
Well, that's an assignment for me. So,
so you asked the question. I've not answered the question.
Because of time.
Let me just summarize the question you asked just now. Just repeat it again. Let me know how to answer
we're trying to look at those features that a democratic rule should have that seem to be lacking in our country. And you have said that you talked about political parties having opposition within parties and all that. Now, which other one do you think we lack that we should have?
There's what we call the rule of law. Rule of law. I don't know whether the rule of law is at work, because in the dictate of A.B. Dyson, when he was talking about the rule of law, he said anywhere there is rule of law, anywhere there is democratic rule, there must be rule of law. What is rule of law? Equality before the law.
Yeah.
Now, there is respect for the law, and the law does not discriminate. The process of appointing those who preside over courts, the process of appointing judicial officers, does not allow the rule of law to be fully operational. Apart from those in the temple of justice who preside, who feel that they should etch their name in gold by ensuring that what the law says is followed.
Okay, let me pause you because we're going to have more time to discuss this. Just 30 seconds. Quickly.
Yeah, you see what I want to tell. I want to put a rider to what I've told you when you say collect the body, go and vote your conscience. We should start, that's step one. The second step, I agree with you that they put a stooge there who will say he voted for a vote. The electoral act, the electoral law says that it is secret ballot. You don't need to do it openly. So if somebody is standing before me or before you to see you voted for, it's against the law. Okay. So we should indict the police. The police should ensure, the police are ready to ensure that there's a dichotomy, there's a space, a large space enough that I will not see who is voting for. Okay. Between where you are casting your vote and to people that the next will be there. Okay. Because what he said there, no, he said, we are trying to educate the people, sorry. Because what is there is that the only thing they say, if an illiterate comes, he doesn't know who to vote for. Then he will say, I want to vote for, you look for the agent of that person. But there should be a space, a gap between the process of finding out. The agents and the person where you're going to cast your vote. Yeah. That is why you find out that money are voted for, is often voted for INEC. Yeah. That they put the cubicle as a closed cubicle. You go and vote there, nobody follows you there. So if people are sensitized to be telling people the space between the policeman the Olaipo and the voting is too near.
Okay.
I don't want to see who I'm voting for.
All right,
we should
gentlemen,
drive that.
I think we have to take a pause. I'll consider it as taking a pause on this discussion today, because some of that time will come here so that perhaps we can just continue. Neville Obake, there's always an exciting time with you, quite you know, thought-provoking because of the lessons that you give in our programs. Well, he has said that for Nigeria as a country to really thrive, that our leaders should try as much as possible to give democratic speeches, not political speeches. And also, he also said that there seems to be that there should be a strong opposition even within political parties. Even as Ihimekpe, you know, said that no, there is opposition within political parties. A very big thank you to you, gentlemen, for finding time to come on our program today.